Hello, Rachel.
Hi.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name, I've met a lot of you, and some of you haven't met, but my name is Tony Pearsall, and I'm the Executive Director for Fighting Back Partnership, and please don't pay any attention to the neck brace, because I don't. Long story short, I had to have a little operation called the spine surgery operation in December, but got through it finally. I don't recommend it for anybody unless you have to do it. And got back to work on a part-time basis. But Susan Schoenrock, who's the project director for youth, and this program, the mentoring program, especially mentoring children whose parents are incarcerated in state and federal prison, is just a major project for fighting back. And the reason I say that too, and a lot of you I'm sure have been involved with kids who have had issues and whose parents have been incarcerated either in like local jail or state prison. And I, fortunately, before I was here, I was with the Vallejo Police Department for 35 years. And I saw that. And, the issue always was that, when I was there, I can remember, that a grandfather got arrested, and then the father got arrested, and the grandson got arrested over a certain year period because the cycle never got broken. And I think that a program like this, and nationally, it's been proven that if you can find mentors, if you can find people who will have one of these children do positive events and, tell you what their problems are, go to events that Fighting Back is willing to sponsor, I mean, that's going to create just a major change in a child's life. And you want to change a child's life. You don't want that child ending up in jail or state prison or anywhere else. And it has to take something like that. And it has to take mentors. And that, we've been doing mentoring program, how many years, Lawrence? Since 1998, and have had fantastic results with it. But I mean, you're always concerned, do you have enough mentors? And that answer is no. Are there, kids out there? Unfortunately, there are, and as well as I do with this economic times, that you have a lot of families that we see, that have these type of children, and we do with our family resource centers is that we serve over 2,000 families every year who are having social issues or economic issues and have children that are in school or kids that aren't going to school because they've been truant because of families that have too many problems. So I don't want to keep going on and on, but I think this is critical to the city because this is a city that finally is going to, I believe, is going to turn around, financially. They've got a plan, and I think Fighting Back Partnership is probably part of that plan because we work with the city council, we work with the city manager, working with Mayor Davis to do that, and they have programs like this, and they have, you be part of this program would be absolutely fabulous. So I thank you, honestly, for being here today, and I think this program is going to be highly successful because everybody here is going to do that. So thank you very much for coming.
All right, so I'm Susan Schoenrock. I'm the Director of Youth Programs here at Fighting Back Partnership, and I welcome you all. I see so much potential for partnerships to develop to work with our youth. And so I wanted to introduce Candace Pierce from CASA, Court-Appointed Special Advocates, who will present about children of incarcerated parents and what their special needs are. Candy.
Good afternoon. The lunch smells so good. I hope you don't mind if I come by and take a couple bites later. I actually am going to take just a couple minutes to do a commercial about CASA because that's part of what we do. CASA, Court-Appointed Special Advocates, they are all volunteer advocates who work with children in the foster care system to advocate for them and what their basic needs are with the judge. So when a child is taken into foster care, a lot of times they have an attorney and a social worker and many other people that are responsible for them, but they all have lots of kids that they're responsible for. With CASA, they have an advocate, one-on-one relationship, and the advocates actually meet with the kids on a regular basis, weekly basis, to get to know them. And then they tell the judge what it is that these kids need, if they have special needs, or even if they just need a pair of shoes to play soccer. Our advocates tell the judge all of those things in a written report to the judge, and they actually go to court with the kids when the kids go to court. So it's a great program. We have a huge need. We have a huge need for advocates always. It isn't for everybody because it is a lot of work and a lot of commitment. And we have a huge need for men. Currently, 17% of our volunteers are men, and 52% of our kids are male. So we have a little bit of a disconnect, and a lot of our kids could use a really great role model in a man. So if you know anybody that might want to look at CASA, there's a brochure about CASA in your folders that you got. So I'd be happy to talk to you about it or pass it on. But now what I'm really here for is a great partnership that we have with Fighting Back Partnership, and we're going to talk a little bit about some of the effects that these kids have. So we talk about the event that happens when a kid's parents go to jail or prison. And what happens is that these kids have huge disruptions in their lives in most cases, whether it's only one parent and they stay with the remaining parent, or whether both parents are incarcerated, or we're only living with one parent. Every family is different and every situation is different. But these kids go through a great deal of stress and trauma by seeing that their parents have gone to prison. So if they're already living in an environment that is below poverty level, or if they have stressors at their schools, it's only going to exacerbate that by having their parent go to prison or go to jail. And so one of the things that you really have to look at with these kids is how do we mitigate those as much as possible to make that happen. And so that's where a mentor can really come in handy for these kids. Oops, went the wrong way. So the 4 questions that the kids ask right away from their parents, and the first one is, where are you? And why are you there? Sometimes the kids know where they are because they were there when the parent was arrested, they were there when the trial happened, but a lot of times well-meaning people say to their kids, oh, they're gone on a trip, or they went away to school, or whatever other thing that they can think of to tell the kids. And the challenge with that is that kids are smart. Kids will figure it out. They know. And so they will develop a trust issue right away because they see that if the parent is writing to them, the letter, it's pretty clear that letter is coming from the prison. They mark that mail pretty clearly. They'll overhear somebody talking about it. There's a lot of things that happen. And so one of the biggest faults that people step into and they're well-intentioned and well-meaning, but one of the biggest faults they step into is saying, it's okay, they just went away on a trip and we'll see them again sometime soon. And that's really a bold lie to some of these kids, and they'll find that out. And so if they don't know why they're there, kids understand that there's a punishment that goes along with doing something wrong. And so you just have to, in the most simplest terms, explain to them why that is. And you don't have to give them the details of the crime or anything, but one of the things is they need to know. Mommy did something bad, Daddy did something bad, and they have to go to prison or to jail to pay for that because that is their punishment. And the next question they may or may not know the answer to, but one of the challenges is if mom or dad is put away for a very long time, and they say, when are you coming home? And they say, well, soon. And soon to a little kid means one thing, and to an older kid means something very different. But the biggest challenge is to put it in terms that they can understand. For a little kid, if mom or dad has been put away for a long time, you might have to tell them, you might not see them until you're 18 years old or until you finish school. Or you can say, in 3 summers from now, you'll see mommy or daddy. It has to be in terms that they can understand and in time commitments that they understand. And this is a really hard one when they want to know if their parent is okay. Because if they talk to the parent is going to try to say, I'm okay, or maybe they won't. Maybe they'll say, I'm in this really awful place and all these awful things are happening. We hope that at the end of the day that the kids know that mommy and daddy, the biggest thing is that mommy and daddy are there for the reason that they're there, and it has nothing to do with the questions that the kids never ask, but they're thinking them all the time. And these are the 2 questions. Do you blame me, and do you still love me? Because when kids are separated, that trauma that comes about from not seeing mom or dad they internalize it and take it all in and say it's probably my fault. And if the parent was arrested for some domestic abuse or things like that, and the kid happened to be the one that called, there's a whole other issue that goes along with that. And so one of the things that we really look at when those kind of mentorship programs, those can't be done by your average mentor. Those have to be done in specialized situations when there's abuse and all of that goes on with it, especially if the child was the victim. So we look at the kids who are not the victims, who really want to say, we want to assure them that no matter what, mommy and daddy are there and they still love them. So what do they need? Well, they need to have consistent, caring adults that children, and who understand that the children love their parents. So the worst thing that someone can do is to be a mentor for a kid and to say bad things about the mom and dad, or say, you shouldn't love mommy and daddy anymore. Or if the kid is ambivalent about their feelings, to buy into that. Because kids, in most cases, no matter what the parent has done to them, and we've seen kids with some horrific things that their parents have done to them, at the end of the day, it's still mommy or daddy, and they still love them, and they still want to be connected with them. So mentors, the biggest piece that you can provide is by being consistent and being there. The consistency, if you say you're going to be if you say you're going to be somewhere at a certain time, be there and show up. And if, circumstances arise that you can't, you've got to at least notify them and let them know, so that they know that they can count on you. If you say you're going to be there, you're going to be there. That if you say, I'm going to call at a certain time, you call at a certain time. If you're going to make arrangements to help them go visit the parent in prison, that you make those arrangements, that you actually have the follow through. That's what kids need more than anything, is a constant, consistent force and an adult who shows them that adults can be in that case. The other thing you can never do is condemn the parent, because again, it's mommy or daddy, they love mommy or daddy, and you can't tell them that, mommy and daddy, what they did was bad, but mommy and daddy are not bad. And you have to understand, these kids are going to go through all kinds of levels of grief and anger and sadness. It is like the stages of grief when their parent is taken away from them. And so at any given time when you're with a kid as a mentor, they could be a totally different place. And you have to understand, they could lie to you, they could scream at you, they can not talk to you. It really depends on where they are in their grief stages. And you have to be able to accept that and work through it with them. And sometimes, as our advocates will tell you, that we have advocates who meet with kids on a weekly basis, and for 6 months, the only thing they've gotten out of that kid is a single syllable answer, a yes or a no. And then one day that the floodgates open and watch out. But that's what they need you there for. They need you to be consistent, and they need to know that you will be there. And that when they have feelings, that you allow them to have those feelings. And don't try to mitigate them, and don't try to tell them that that they shouldn't be feeling that way, because they're their feelings. So one of the coping mechanisms is to help them learn how to deal with their grief and their anger. And that is not your job, that's a therapy kind of job. But if you learn the mechanisms that help them cope, little kids may want to color, and you let them color and be angry and rage in their colors, or they may want to throw a little tantrum in the back corner. You got to allow them to do that and understand that and know that there are coping mechanisms that are available to them. Okay? And when you go through the full-blown training, we'll talk about what those are. So there's a lot of activities that keeping the kids busy really helps them, because it helps to keep their mind off of. So we can define a lot of different types of activities that you can use with the kids to make that happen. And they need to have a community that is beyond their own crisis. So it could be a faith-based community. It could be something like Project What, which is the Bay Area Kids of Incarcerated Parents, and it stands for We're Here and Talking. And those kids meet together, they talk together, it's a support group. They also share their stories with other people so that the kids understand those kinds of things that go on. And the biggest part of mentorship might be just helping them stay connected with their parents while their parents are incarcerated. And that could be, it may be visiting, and hopefully it's visiting, but it may be connecting with them through letters, through the telephone calls when they're allowed, those types of things. But a good mentor and a valuable mentor to kids really helps to smooth the way and make that process happen. So the best thing about maintain, do you think it's a good thing for parents to maintain relationships with their kids when the parents are incarcerated? Absolutely. And there's a lot of reasons and a lot of things that come out of that. And one of the things is that what kids imagine is usually 100 times worse than reality, especially with TV. You know, these kids see all these things on TV and they imagine that's what's happening to their parents. And if they see really bad things on TV, that's the first thing they're going to imagine, and it's going to be heightened especially by their ages. So one of the things about having that connection and seeing their parents and knowing who their parents are in prison is to be able to see really what's happening and to see that mom or dad is okay, and to talk to them and be able to understand that part of it. Talking face-to-face with mom and dad helps to clear up a whole lot of that. It also helps them to learn that they're not alone. When there's visiting hours at the prisons, it's usually family time. There's a lot of other families coming in. The kids can see other kids and know that they're not alone and there are other people in that situation. And it helps them to deal with that in a lot of different ways. It also helps them if they have face-to-face contact with their parents for when mom or dad comes home. Because if they don't see anybody for 3, 4, 5 years and all of a sudden they come home, it's like starting a whole new relationship all over again. And it's with a very different person because the kid has changed dramatically in those 3 or 4 or 5 years, as has the parent. So the face-to-face contact when they're preparing for release is really helpful for the kids. It also, in the foster care system, it also helps to eliminate the termination of parental rights, because what happens with the termination of parental rights is part of the plan in the foster care system is having a plan to reunify with mom and dad. And if mom and dad have no connection with the kid and no interest in the kid, opportunities are more available to actually terminate parental rights, and we don't want that to happen. And so having that happen having those face-to-face contacts helps to alleviate that as well. And it helps them with their grief and their loss, because seeing mom and dad and knowing they're there, and if they can touch them and know that they're real, it does help to alleviate some of that grief and loss that goes along with the parent being incarcerated. So some of the things that you need to do and know when you start working as a mentor is, first of all, know what your biases are. And know that sometimes it's going to be really tough if you have to help, be the intermediary between mom or dad and the kid. And mom or dad did something that was really bad. You kind of have to let that all go. And you have to remember, I'm here for this child only. And when I'm dealing with this child, what kinds of things I can and can't say and what my boundaries should be to go with that. You have to listen to the kid and listen without judgment. Again, they're going to have things to say. The kid may tell you, I don't love my mom and dad anymore, because that's one of their coping mechanisms. And so one of the things that you have to do is listen, allow them to say that, and then discuss what they really feel with them. So, and then also one of the key things is, like I said earlier, don't lie to them. Be compassionate, but don't lie to the kids. It's better to say, I don't know, let me find out, rather than lying to them. So don't tell them things that, be honest with them, be frank with them. Mom's in prison, dad's in jail, whatever, but make sure that you are simple and honest with them. And answer them in terms that they can understand as children, because if we try to talk up here and to a 5-year-old, there's an imbalance going on there. So those are really the tips. Do you need me to put that back up? I saw a couple people writing. I can put it back up, but we have all of that stuff for you later. So one of the things that I want to do real quick is have you take a little quiz. Really not hard. And we'll actually do it together. It's not a pass-fail at the end of the day.
Yeah, we were just
Back in the game. Back in the game.
If you don't get all 10 right, you got to leave right now. And some of these I've already answered in my presentation, so you should get those right automatically.
Back in the day. I'm probably not supposed to start ahead of time.
Okay, we're going to do it together as a group. This is the interactive part of the presentation here. So the first one is it good for children to visit their incarcerated parents? How many people think that's true? True. Yeah, all right. So, number 2, the impact for a child whose father is incarcerated is greater than when the mother is incarcerated.
Greater?
It is false. It is false. The impact on the child is much greater when it's the mother rather than the father. Children need to know what is going on with their parent while their parent is incarcerated. You all should know that. I said that 3 times. It's true, yeah. Here's a tough one, number 4. What do you think is the most traumatic phase for children of incarcerated parents? Absolutely, yeah. That could be, depending on the situation and all of that, it can be really traumatic. If they can witness everything from, oh, Tony's not in the room, no offense, police brutality to a misunderstanding. You know, they say, why was my parent thrown down and put in handcuffs and all that? I mean, all kinds of things, and all these images go through the kid's head, and the trauma from that is amazing. So most children of incarcerated parents end up in foster care. What do you think? It's false, actually. Luckily, for the larger percentage of them, they have some sort of extended family. Either it's only one parent that's been incarcerated, or they have extended family, aunts, uncles, grandmas, grandpas, etc., that take care of them while they're in. Most children who live with their parents prior to parental incarceration will live with them again following a release. It is true. It is true. The dependency system in our state, in particular, the goal is to always keep families united, and so they want to try to get those kids back with their parents. Okay. So most incarcerated parents want to maintain relationships with their children. What do you think? True. Absolutely, and they do. And so, what do you think on 8? Incarceration leads to permanent severance of family ties in many situations. No. False. That's right. Frequent visitations at correctional institutions, when appropriate, and there is no risk to the child, have been proven to reduce trauma for the child. True. Absolutely. And finally, children whose parents are incarcerated are exposed to more risk factors and more likely to have behavioral problems. That is true. That is true. So, that's what you're up against as a mentor for these kids. But the good news is, there's good news at the end of the day. The good news is that by having a mentor who understands all of this, and if you choose to become a mentor, which Susan's going to talk about later for these kids, is we have a training that helps you to understand what the boundaries are, what kinds of things you should and shouldn't talk to, what is age appropriate in both in talking to the kids, in preparing the kids, in preparing them for a visit with the parents, what to do after the visit, because some of the challenges are the kids, especially if you drive them, which, I don't know, is that part of your program that they can drive them to? Okay, make sure. In some cases it is, in some cases it isn't. If you drive them to a visit with the parents, there's going to be a big challenge for you on the way there, and probably a bigger one, most likely on the way back. The separation anxiety and all those things that go along with it when you leave are really big. So we, in our partnership, and this, by the way, this is Susan Martinez over here next to the wall. Wave at everybody, Susan. Susan also works for CASA, and Susan will be doing the training for our mentors of children of incarcerated parents. So we have a whole training module that's available for that. And with that, I will take questions, and then I'll turn it over to Susan. Any questions? Wow, all right, you rock on. Susan.
Great. Well, thank you. This is just a really exciting time. We have launched this partnership with CASA and Candy and Susan, and looking forward to a lot of very enriching, engaging opportunities to be working together. I want to thank Monica and Heather, who are our Toro fieldwork students, who put this event together for us and are beginning the work. They have worked very hard, and they have managed to pull everything together and got everybody's address and phone number together. So it's very exciting. And in your brochure, in your packet, there is a survey, and we're looking for information about how you want to be involved with our programs. Do you want to be a mentor? Do you want to help us recruit mentors? Do you have a special topic that you can help present to support our population of people? The list is endless. We also would like your input about what other topics we should be presenting through the speaker series. So our plan is in March to have another speaker, invite you all back again. More people, invite a friend. But we wanted to see what the topics are that you would really like to come and hear. So please, before you leave, complete the survey, and there's a basket over there that you can put it in, or else we'll be sending you also email information. We'll give you the link to the presentation today so you can share the presentation with other people, other materials, and you can forward that information on, but there will also be an electronic link to the survey. So I would like to introduce some project staff here at Fighting Back Partnership who are working in the field of mentoring to tell you about some of the opportunities that are happening through Solano County. So let me start off with Florence Parks. And Florence is the manager of the Solano Mentor Collaborative. I'll let you begin and tell a little bit about that.
Well, let me tell you a little bit about myself and then about the Solano Mentor Collaborative. I actually started in mentoring in the same seat as you. I started as a volunteer. I was really passionate about our children and concerned about the resources that they had. At that time, I was working at the middle school, the Solano Middle School, under a program with the Vallejo Unified School District in a partnership with Fighting Back. And at that time, I reached out to Arthel, because she was the director of the program at that time, Solano Mentor Collaborative, and she was trying to find out how we can and she assisted me in creating a program for my middle school. After that, I got very excited about mentoring. I was geared towards supporting Arthel in any capacity possible. I became a certified mentor, and I've also been matched since then with 3 different mentees. So I would just like to say I came from that perspective, just wanting to find my fit in mentoring. And with that, I think each of you guys have a different fit into mentoring. You might not be able to be matched at first, and I wasn't either. I was working with 50 different children that I wanted to get services to at that time, and so I developed a program, Ladies in Training and Emerging Gentlemen, with the vice principal at my school that still is going on today in the middle schools. And after that, so that brings me to where I am today. When Arthel moved on, she advanced her career and left and went to Big Brother, Big Sister. The doors of Solano Mentor Collaborative were going to close, and I campaigned to keep them open. And we were able to establish the mentor program with a few different grants. We got a local grant first from a partner, City Financial. It was a $20,000 grant, something meager. We could get things going. But then after that, we also had the opportunity to apply for the Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Program and Prevention Programs to bring in another grant that is supporting the Solano Mentor Collaborative today. That grant allowed us to hire on a great staff, and then we were able to sustain even our director position for our youth programs. And since then, we and Susan's leadership have been able to successfully obtain another grant, the Mentoring Children and Prisoners grant. And just to tell you a little bit about Solano Mentor Collaborative, we have a monthly meeting with different agencies across sectors, people that are involved in mentoring, but people that are involved in youth programs and sustaining these programs in the community. Those of you that are part of the collaborative, if you could just raise your hand. I don't want to make you have you get up at this time, but there's a lot of us at this table that also meet monthly, and we would like to invite you all to meet us as well. On the left side of your packet, there's a blue handout that was created by Sarah. She did a great job putting some information about our different collaborative agencies. And also, if you're interested in joining our efforts in the collaborative level, where we're working at different agencies, supporting mentoring in a broader scope, please do fill out the information and leave that with us, or feel free to contact me at another time. We are eager to work with each and every one of you. I know that you're already advocating for youth in our community in some capacity, and now I hope that also after today you will all be mentor advocates. And after that, I'd like to introduce to you our staff who is working directly with the Mentor Children of Prisoners program, and she's started as a mentor program specialist as well under Solano Mentor Collaborative, and is now the coordinator for this new project, and is doing a great job. Nejla Barance.
Thank you And a little bit about my background, some most important is that I also started as a mentor project specialist. I was mentoring in my own life and decided to volunteer at Fighting Back during school. And I ended up acquiring a position here, fortunately. From that, recently in September, we just received the Mentoring Children of Prisoners grant. And we formally titled it Project COPE, which is Children of Parent Prisoners Engaged. Now, there's several ways that we have been envisioning the community to be involved with our project. And as the first quarter passed on, we're really in the planning phases of our grant. But our ultimate goal is to be able to support 100 youth within a 3-year time frame. And that's 100 youth within Vallejo. We're hoping to support more. How can we do this? We need motivated mentors that want to support our youth as a one-on-one dynamic. And this setup looks a little bit like meeting with the mentee for 4 hours a month. And as Candy mentioned, you might face some of the traumatic experiences, and you might have to support the youth in what they've been through. But if you feel you can support us in that, please join us in our mentoring movement. And if you can't, we have other mentoring agencies that you can be involved in. We want to be able to increase the confidence of these youth, and it's very important for us to be able to provide positive, dedicated mentors. And so, again, the point of today is that we are titling all of you as mentor advocates. We're hoping that after you leave today, you spread the word to someone else about what an important mentor is, what are the qualities they obtain. And if you can't do that, we're also hoping to build advisory committees, like an acting board of directors, but not a board of directors. They support us in our movement and help us think of unique ways to support our youth in the community. There's so much with this grant. I just really think we're at a point right now where we're trying to recruit mentors. That's our biggest obstacle, struggle, success we're hoping to achieve. So if you want to join this movement, please contact me. I'll leave my cards out here. And any questions? Nope? Thank you.
I'd like to just quickly also introduce some of our other mentoring project staff. We have Sarah Creighton-Curley here, who is working now for Fighting Back Partnership, and Ursula McClure, who is another mentor project specialist. So any of these incredibly knowledgeable women will be able to talk about the programs that are available throughout the county, talk about very specifically about what's happening here at Fighting Back Partnership, as well as how you can get involved. So with that, let's network. Thank you. Thank you.
Come get you.